Hi everyone, it's Sean from What Up. Welcome back to another video and happy Wheel of Time News Day. Yes, we have more Wheel of Time news to dive into today. Stuff that's happened over the last 4 or 5 days that I didn't cover in my last videos. I may have to start doing 2 videos a day, folks. I don't want to because I think that's a little overboard, but I'm definitely going to get through one every single day with all the stuff that's coming out. So what do we have today? We have a brand new clip that debuted a few days ago on Good Morning Britain. It was also on Australian news. It was also on news here in North America. I was sent it by a lot of you. Thank you so much for sending me this. If you have anything, any news, any things that come up that you want to send me, my email's in the About section of my channel. All my socials are open. You can send it to me there or talk to me there. I love hearing that stuff, folks, and I got it from a lot of you. So we have that clip for you today. We're going to discuss it and what it means. It gives us some insight to where everybody's at the beginning of the season. We have a new casting confirmed by SFX Magazine that we're going to talk about. And we have episode descriptions that are released by Prime Video on the Prime Video app that coincide with titles that were released by WOTSERIES.com quite some time ago. So we're going to talk about that and what it means for the season. So if you love the Wheel of Time, if you're excited about the March 13th release of Season 3, and at this point, I can't see how anyone isn't, consider making us your home for Wheel of Time news. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and tell a bunch of your friends. I have a goal in mind of 25,000 subscribers prior to Season 3 dropping March 13th, and for a while I didn't think it was going to happen. We are less than 800 subscribers away from that, folks, so I think we can do it. In fact, I know we can do it. Thank you so much for that. One more little thing before we dive into the video. I've gotten probably about a half dozen messages in the last 2 days from people who were subbed to the channel that checked, and their subs were not subbed anymore. They were unsubbed. They don't know why or what happened, whether it was an accident or whatnot, but there was enough people that sent me a message that I figured I'd say something. So if you think you were already subbed to What Up, check. Just check to make sure that you haven't been unsubbed for some weird or strange reason. Anyway, so let's dive into this. We have a spoiler warning hand up there for Book 5. So we're going to dive into some things from the book series. So if you haven't read books 1 through 5, that's Eye of the World through The Fires of Heaven, Be Forewarned, and May Ruin Plot Points and Character Arcs from the first 5 books of the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. We're going to talk about Season 3, stuff leading up to it, and some characters. We're going to spoil some stuff. It's just the way it is here. All right, so let's dive into this clip first. It's pretty cool, folks. I was pretty excited when I watched it.
Ask you all to stay here, but I know you'll do as you wish. So please remember that the person shining your shoes will give your description to the South Harbour fishmonger, who in turn will speak quietly to the innkeeper at the Upriver Run, who is a woman who reports every suspicious newcomer directly to the Red Ajah.
All right, pretty neat. Now, we're going to talk about a couple of different things here. We'll talk about Matt's face at the end when she mentions the Red Ajah. We'll get into that in a second, but we already knew a few things about the beginning of the series because Rafe Judkins had let us know that the 11 minutes that was released, both on the Prime Video app, on their YouTube, on all their socials that we talked about here on the channel last week, I think last Thursday, was the cold open for episode 1. So we knew for sure that Moiraine and Lan were back in Tar-Valon for the cold open, and that Nynaeve was back in Tar-Valon for the cold open because they were featured in that 11-minute clip. This pretty much confirms that everyone else is in Tar-Valon at some point. Now, we don't know when this clip takes place within the episodes, whether it's directly after the cold open or sometime within episode 1. If I had to guess, I'm going to say it's pretty early on, considering the episode descriptions that we've already seen or that we'll be showing you later on in this video, because they do talk about everybody splitting up. So this is likely where everyone's starting at in Season 3. And also, Marcus Rutherford had just said in an interview yesterday that everyone is together and he's with everyone at the beginning of the season. So we can pretty much guarantee everyone's together. Who I saw there was Avienda, Bane, and Chiad, Loyal, Matt, Rand, and Perrin, Egwene, Elaine, Moiraine, so many AIM names, and Lan, all together there. And Maureen's giving them a speech, reminiscent of a speech that she's given the boys a number of different times in the books. Don't draw attention to yourself. Don't be stupid. There's always people watching. Everyone knows what you're doing, and they will be paying attention. And it's kind of a big hint towards the eyes and ears networks of different Ajahs as well when she's talking. Very neat. So we know they're all in Tar-Valon at some point near the beginning of the season, which totally makes sense. And it answers a question a lot of fans had. Will there be a time jump? At this point, we can pretty much safely say, yes, 100% there's going to be a time jump, because we know that Nynaeve, Moiraine, and Lan, were in the cold open, with no explanation as how they got there. And then this scene happens likely early on in the first episode. So there is some sort of a time jump between the end of Season 2 and Season 3. And I know some people out there were complaining that if this was the case, they wouldn't like it. I personally super like it because it cuts out all the travel time, it cuts out everything else, and it brings everybody together so they can build those relationships again before they separate again for the season. One of the things I didn't like about season 2 is that everyone started separated, so you didn't get to see much interaction with a lot of the characters, and I thought it led to the character development falling very, very short for the season. This season, though, super high hopes considering how they've structured it, and I can't wait to see what's going on here. All right, now, so we're going to talk about a new casting that comes to us from SFX Magazine. Now, this is not online just yet, but it is in print. I haven't been able to find a copy of the magazine anywhere near me, but other people have, and they put this online. So a picture from this article about the Wheel of Time talks about Galena, Leandrin, and Tsutsama. They mean business. So we've already talked about Tsutsama here on the channel. We mentioned her, I think, either yesterday or a couple of days ago in a news video where we talked about her and her actress and the role she's playing and who Tsutsama is. Leandrin, we all know, of course. We've talked about her extensively here on the channel. But Galena. Galena is the lady to Leandrin's left here with the darker hair that's brought up in sort of a bun on the top of her head. She is super important to the book series, and a lot of people were kind of not expecting to see her. Now, Galena Casban is a member of the Red Aja. She is the highest of the Red Aja, at least at this point within the series. And so she's in charge of all the Red Aja, but she is also very important to a number of different storylines within the books. Now, I'm not going to spoil a bunch of stuff about her character right now or her storylines because I only get spoilers for book 5, and I don't want to inadvertently spoil something that's very important later on. But I will say she is incredibly important to Rand's storyline, as well as Perrin and Fail's storylines within the book series. And she is one of those characters that people super, super love to hate from the books. Robert Jordan didn't do a great job of writing antagonists and villains in the books, but in my opinion, Galena was written really, really well. I liked the fact just how evil she was. It was just, she's just not a nice person at all. She really takes her role as hunting down men who could channel very, very seriously. She's very severe. She's very superior to everyone else. Anyway, so Galena is very important in a number of storylines of the books, and there's been questions whether she'll be cut or not from the show. She's not going to be cut, folks. She is definitely in the 3rd season because it mentions her here within this article as kind of walking towards the Tower Hall at the beginning. So we've seen this scene. This is an excerpt from the scene from the cold open, so we know what happens here. But it's nice to see that Galena is trailing Leandrin, and it actually is Galena, and she's named here, which is super cool. All right, now we're going to get into this. So this was an article by WOTSERIES.com that was released a long time ago, and I've left the link to that article down below in the description box. And WOTSERIES is not somebody I've mentioned a whole lot lately, or at least pushed their website a whole lot lately, and that's my fault. I do apologize. You folks need to go over there and bookmark their page. They release more Wheel of Time news in between seasons than anyone else. Right now, everyone is releasing Wheel of Time news. It's all over the place. But when there's a drought of news, and when the longing takes place in between seasons, WOTSERIES.com is the glue that holds a fandom together. They come out with this, and they come out with stuff like this all the time. Castings, plot points, pictures from sets, all kinds of crazy stuff they come out with all of the time. And they always post articles about it, and it just keeps the fans happy in between seasons. So, link to this article is down below in the description box. Go there, bookmark the page, check back often, support them in any way you can. WOTSERIES.com are absolutely fantastic people. They're friends of mine, and they're really, really good at what they do, and they've never been wrong. So there's that. Not many institutions that talk about news or entertainment can say that. They've never been wrong. All right, so they released this, and it was all the episode titles, and this came, I believe, from a publicly sourced website that does ratings, and so we knew these episode titles, or at least we had an idea of what they were, but we weren't sure which order they were going to be in. There was a lot of talk. There was a lot of discussion. I did a few of the videos here on the channel talking about which ones would be which. But we now know in what order at least the first 5 are, and we have a brief description of them based on the Prime Video app. It's a little bit small. Let's see if we can make this a smidge bigger, and I can move out of the way. So, Season 3, Episode 1, To Race the Shadow. chaos erupts within the White Towers. Our heroes become targets of a new evil. Now, we've already seen sort of kind of that in the cold open, where the Black Aja basically attacks everyone in the tower and escapes. I think that's what that's referencing to. To race the shadow makes super good sense because they're trying to get out and people are trying to catch them. Makes sense to me. I'm excited to see that one on screen. Season 3, Episode 2, A Question of Crimson. Now, Question of Crimson refers to a chapter within the books where Nynaeve and Elaine and a few others are part of a traveling, I want to say circus. It's the best way to put it. Val and Luca's traveling menagerie, I think is what it is. Now, Val and Luca is the leader of it, and he is, in my opinion, only can ever be played by one person, and that's Bruce Campbell, and no one can ever change my mind on that. He is a character and a half. He is great to read, and he is absolutely obsessed with Nynaeve, and A Question of Crimson comes from a chapter where he's trying to get Nynaeve to wear a red dress. It's a little revealing that Nynaeve doesn't want to wear. So, the description for this episode is: a dangerous visitor comes to the White Tower. Perrin returns home. Rand and Egwene forge their own path under Moraine's watchful eye. I see nothing in there referencing Val and Luca, and of course we are not far enough along within the series, the show at least anyway, to intercept Val and Luca's traveling menagerie. However, I think what they're doing here is they're taking chapter titles that don't really coincide with what's going on in the show, but they kind of could, and they put them together. They're famous for that. They've been known for that the last 2 seasons. They're probably doing that here. Don't think we're going to see Val and Luca here, but what's interesting about this is a dangerous visitor comes to the White Tower. If it's A Question of Crimson, I wonder if that dangerous visitor is maybe perhaps someone related to the title. We'll leave it at that. Perrin returns home. So Perrin is going back to the Two Rivers. So we know that we're starting the Two Rivers plotline early on in the series. Perrin is going home in episode 2. So we know he's trekking back to the Two Rivers. We've already seen in a bunch of the promotional material, official stuff, that Alana is in the Two Rivers. Taylor Napier's character Maxim is in the Two Rivers. Her warder, Loyal, Bane, and Chiad are in the Two Rivers. Perrin is there, and Fail. So there's a question of whether or not Perrin meets Fail on the way, in Tar Valon, or perhaps in the Two Rivers itself. We're not entirely sure, but we do know that likely Bane, Chiad, and Loyal go with him because they are in the Two Rivers. They either travel with him or they follow him, one or the other. Rand and Egwene forge their own path under Moraine's watchful eye. I'm going to guess that that's probably them going to the Waste. That makes sense to me that they're going to the Waste. We've seen a bunch of pictures of Rand and Egwene in the Waste. No one else is with them other than Moraine and Lan. That is likely what that refers to there. Season 3, Episode 3, Seeds of Shadow. Very neat. Nynaeve and Elaine are given a deadly mission. Perrin learns the consequences of his rage. Lanfear begins to play a dangerous game. So Nynaeve and Elaine are given a deadly mission. That is likely from Swan herself, giving them a mission to go to Tenchiko to hunt down the Black Aja. That happens almost the same way within the book series. Swan wants them to go hunt down the Black Aja because they're the only two that she can truly trust that are not Black Aja, because the Black Aja wants them dead. Perrin learns the consequences of his rage. So he's in the Two Rivers at this point, we're pretty sure. Does that mean he rages out and fights some people, or does it mean that he is seeing the aftermath of Layla's death, his wife from Season 1, Episode 1, that he killed when he went Berserker Perrin? And he hasn't really been Berserker Perrin since then. A little bit, but not really, like he's not really letting that wolf loose. So he's learning the consequences of his rage. Either something else happens, and it's another mistake that causes him more mental anguish, or he's going home and he sees the aftermath of what he did because he hasn't been home since the first episode, basically. Lanfear begins to play a dangerous game. Now, in the book series, Lanfear was cozied up to Rand and played a bunch of the light side characters against the dark side, back and forth a lot, because she truly thought that her and Lews Therin would be back together again. She's super obsessed with them. So she was willing to give people on the light side help, even if it hurt the dark side's agendas, like the Dark One's agenda, in order to help Rand, because she wanted to help him because she thought he's Lews Therin. Perhaps that's what that references. Not entirely sure, but that makes sense to me. Next we have Season 3, Episode 4, The Road to the Spear. This is the chapter in the books where Rand steps through the glass columns and he goes into Rhuidean, steps through the glass columns, walks through the eyes of his ancestors as he walks through those glass columns, and sees the history of the Aiel. So the description here is, Rand faces the forgotten history of his family as Moraine learns the devastating truth of her future. So basically, we're seeing Rhuidean in Season 3, Episode 4. That is when Rand enters Rhuidean, he walks through the glass columns, discovers the history of the Aiel and his ancestors, and Moiraine sees all possible futures when she steps through the rings. And we know that Aviendha is also in the rings, not just because it happens in the books, but because she is there during the same time that Moiraine is, and we've seen it in the promotional material. So we are seeing Rhuidean, Episode 4. So that, to me, is a very, very smart move, because you have a mid-season finale of Rhuidean, and it can cut off somewhere big there. I can't wait for that. Season 3, Episode 5, Tal Oran Rioid. Egwene learns Rand's dark secret. Perrin stages a daring rescue. Nynaeve, Elaine, Mat, and Min hunt the Black Aja. So Egwene learns Rand's dark secret. This isn't that he can channel, because everyone knows that already. Likely, it's has something to do with the fact that Rand has been cozied up to Selene and Lanfear, because that is something he's kept close to the vest, and Moiraine is the only one that really knows. I think that we are likely going to see a break between Rand and Egwene in this episode. This will be the final nail in the coffin of their relationship. Now, in the book series, their relationship was sort of a misnomer. Like, it wasn't really a relationship. They talked about it in the first book or two. They were like, yeah, we're done, cool, no worries. And then they revisited it in The Great Hunt. They revisited it again a little bit in The Dragon Reborn. And it was at that point that Egwene really let him go and passed him off to Elaine. Well, it was Elaine at the time. So I'm thinking that because they've been aged up, because the relationship was much more mature and involved in the show than it was in the book series, this could constitute a big knockdown, drag-out fight, and Rand will start pushing Egwene away. That's my guess anyway. Perrin stages a daring rescue. Who could this be? This is probably where we're going to see Mat's mother, Natty Cawthon. She was captured by the White Cloaks within the Battle of the Two Rivers, along with a few other people, with Mat's sisters as well. I'm going to guess this is likely that rescue, because Perrin does mount a rescue for them within the book series during the Battle of the Two Rivers, and he's in the Two Rivers. You know we're getting that storyline adapted. This is likely where he rescues them. I'm pretty excited to see that on screen, and we know that that Mat's mother, Natty Cawthon, is in Season 3 because the actress who plays her has mentioned it a few times on social media and is very excited about the third season. Has been kind of interacting with the fandom a bit, so I'm excited to see that. Nynaeve, Elaine, Mat, and Min hunt the Black Aja. Now, I've been saying this for quite some time here in the channel, but this is confirmation of it, that the Tanchico storyline include Elaine, Mat, Nynaeve, and Min. We've had some promotional material that showcased them all there as well before this, but this is just further confirmation that they are within that storyline. Now, we're missing 3 more episode titles. So we are missing Golden Eyes, we are missing The Shadow and the Night, and we are missing He Who Comes with the Dawn. If I had to guess, I would say episode 6 is likely He Who Comes with the Dawn, episode 7 is likely Golden Eyes, and episode 8 is probably The Shadow and the Night. That's my guess anyway. I may be wrong on that, but that's what I think we're going to see for the last 3 episodes. Either way, I am very, very excited for how this season is going to play out and what we're going to see. Let me know in the comments down below what you folks think. Do you have any thoughts about Galena? Galena joining the cast in Season 3. I thought they might cut her, because they might cut that whole storyline with her, because it is kind of a convoluted storyline and one that could be easily kind of shifted to the side. At least parts of it, or other people could play her role. Apparently not. She's in the show. Let me know what you think about that. And let me know what you think about that clip. That clip does showcase almost everyone from the show in one spot in Tar-Valon, and if they're showing it, so far they've only really shown clips from the first couple of episodes, so it's likely early on in the season, and when you take a look at these descriptions, there's no way it's anywhere else except maybe in episode 1 and possibly in episode 2, because episode 2 is, they're talking about people are leaving, but they're going to be together for a bit before they leave. So it's likely within those episode 1 or 2. Let me know what you think about that. And I want you to try to figure out what you think an episode description would be for episode 6, 7, and 8. Put them down below in the comments. Anyway, so expect to see a video tomorrow as well. Tomorrow I'm going to give you guys some information about Season 4. What I know I was going to do it today, but this news popped up. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, and we'll talk about what we can do as a fandom to sort of cement that. And then Saturday, we have another news video. Sunday, I have a special guest coming on the channel. I may not get the video out in time because it's going to be later on in the day, but I do have a special guest coming on the channel to talk Wheel of Time news, and that's London River. She's been here before. She's a huge Wheel of Time fan, and we're going to talk season 3 and all kinds of news and stuff. So those are the next few days of videos. I don't want to plan any further than that, and they may change as well based on news or leaks that we get. But there is so much to talk about, folks. I'm so excited with this. And just remember, if you're already a subscriber, check to make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube's doing some kind of funny things lately. Thank you so very much for sticking with us here to the very end. Here's to many more.